Why should it matter what happened long ago? The simple answer is that historical records connect things through time. As humans, a lot of our experiences are rooted in time. The fact that we have scripture today giving us an account of how Earth was created and who created it should prove how vitally important historical records are. So understanding the connections between past and present is essential for recognizing the purpose of the journey of life. As Israelites, our historical record can be found in Scripture. In this session, we will continue learning from our past to help us prepare for our future. Because even though the enemy tried to cut us off from our heritage, we know that they will ultimately fail. Let's read this from Psalm 83, 1 through 6. It says, "Do not keep silent, O Yah. Do not hold your peace. And do not be still, O Yah, for behold, your enemies make a tumult." A tumult is an uproar. It says, "And those who hate you have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against your people and consulted together against your sheltered ones. They have said, 'Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be remembered no more.' For they have consulted together with one consent. They form a confederacy against you." Why did they try to cut Israel off from being a nation? Because we represent the historical and spiritual record of how he gave us the victory over them. This is the legacy they wanted to erase. But this awakening is undoing all of that. The historical record was preserved in the scriptures. Now we have to relearn the ways and customs of our people, but most importantly, we need to learn how to do things Yah's way. Now let's pick up where we left off last time. So we talked about some of the things going on in Israel before the infamous fight, if you can call it a fight, between David and Goliath. And I want to continue looking at some of the details we overlook when we read that story. Let's look at this passage again from 1 Samuel 17, 8 through 11. "Then he stood," speaking of Goliath, "and cried out to the armies of Israel and said to them, 'Why have you come out to line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and you the servants of Saul? Choose a man for yourselves, and let him come down to me. If he is able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall be our servants and serve us.' And the Philistines said, 'I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together.' When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. So this giant made his challenge, and no one from the army of Saul stepped up to the plate." But let's look at a detail we talked about last time. We're looking at 1 Samuel 13, 9 through 22. "Now there was no blacksmith to be found throughout all the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, 'Lest the Hebrews make swords or spears.' But all the Israelites would go down to the Philistines to sharpen each man's plowshare, his mattock, his axe, and his sickle. And the charge for a sharpening was a pim for the plowshares, the mattocks, the forks, and the axes, and to set the points of the goads. So it came about on the day of battle, that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people who were with Saul and Jonathan, but they were found with Saul and Jonathan his son." So in the last session, I talked about how the Philistines were manufacturing weapons, and they purposely kept Israel from possessing the weapons they needed to fight against them. Now, if you read the beginning of this passage, you'll find that the Philistines had been carrying out raids in Israel and getting away with it because the people couldn't defend themselves. So I want to continue looking at these details as we lead up to this battle between David and Goliath. Take note that here it says Saul and Jonathan had weapons. So even if the other men had weapons, they didn't have many, and Saul and Jonathan more than likely had the best weapons. Now let's look at 1 Samuel 14, 1 through 5. Now it happened one day that Jonathan the son of Saul said to the young man who bore his armor, "Come, let us go over to the Philistines' garrison that is on the other side." But he did not tell his father. And Saul was sitting in the outskirts of Gibeah under a pomegranate tree, which is in Migron. The people who were with him were about 600 men. All right, we're going to continue reading 1 Samuel 14, 6 through 14. And listen to the words of Jonathan. This is a man of faith here. Then Jonathan said to the young man who bore his armor, "Come, let us go over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Most High will work for us." Listen to what he says. "For nothing restrains the Most High from saving by many or by few." So his armor-bearer said to him, "Do all that is in your heart. Go then, here I am with you, according to your heart." Then Jonathan said, "Very well, let us cross over to these men, and we will show ourselves to them. If they say thus to us, 'Wait until we come to you,' then we will stand still in our place and not go up to them. But if they say thus, 'Come up to us,' then we will go up, for the Most High has delivered them into our hand, and this will be a sign to us." Now keep in mind there's only two of them, and they're going up against a garrison of Philistines. Verse 11, "So both of them showed themselves to the garrison of the Philistines, and the Philistines said, 'Look, the Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they have hidden.'" So they're taunting them. Then the men of the garrison called to Jonathan and his armor-bearer and said, "Come up to us, and we will show you something." Jonathan said to the armor-bearer, "Come up after me, for the Most High has delivered them into the hand of Israel." And Jonathan climbed up on his hands and knees with his armor-bearer after him, and they fell before Jonathan. And as he came after him, his armor-bearer killed him. That first slaughter which Jonathan and his armor-bearer made was about 20 men within about half an acre of land. Now pay attention, it says that first slaughter. So there had to be a second. But notice that Jonathan is giving glory to the Most High even before he goes up against the Philistines. His faith is not in his own might. They're already outnumbered. There's only two of them. Jonathan's faith was in the Most High, and the Most High gave him and his armor-bearer the power to defeat at least 20. When your heart is right with the Most High, He will empower you to do a lot with very little. Continuing on with verses 15 through 23. "And there was trembling in the camp, in the field, and among all the people. The garrison and the raiders also trembled." The raiders, the ones who were brazenly coming into Israel without fear, they're trembling. Listen to this. "And the earth quaked, so that it was a very great trembling. Now the watchmen of Saul in Gibeah of Benjamin looked, and there was the multitude melting away, and they went here and there. So the Philistines were scattering. So we see that Jonathan wasn't afraid of the Philistines. With this kind of faith, why didn't he go against Goliath? Let's keep reading. Let's look at verse 17. Then Saul said to the people who were with him, "Now call the roll and see who has gone from us." And when they had called the roll, surprisingly, Jonathan and his armor-bearer were not there. And Saul said to Ahijah, "Bring the ark of Yah here." For at that time the ark of the Most High was with the children of Israel. Now it happened, while Saul talked to the priests, that the noise which was in the camp of the Philistines continued to increase. So Saul said to the priests, "Withdraw your hand." Then Saul and all the people who were with him assembled, and they went to the battle. And indeed, every man's sword was against his neighbor, and there was great confusion. So the Philistines were now fighting against each other. Moreover, the Hebrews who were with the Philistines, before that time, who went up with them into the camp from the surrounding country, they also joined the Israelites who were with Saul and Jonathan. Likewise, all the men of Israel who had hidden in the mountains of Ephraim, when they heard that the Philistines fled, they also followed hard after them in the battle. So the Most High saved Israel that day, and the battle shifted to Beth Aven. Now, this is interesting. The Hebrews who were with the Philistines. When you read this, it makes you think that our people were willingly fighting with the Philistines against their own. But we want to look at that in the Septuagint to see how it reads. We'll begin with verse 20. And Saul went up and all the people that were with him, and they come to the battle, and behold, every man's sword was against his neighbor, a very great confusion. And the servants who had been before with the Philistines, who had gone up to the army, turned themselves also to be with the Israelites who were with Saul and Jonathan. So these men were more than likely prisoners who had been compelled to fight against Israel. But notice, they took the first opportunity to turn against the Philistines, to fight with Saul. Now, this may explain 1 Samuel 29:9. If you remember, when David left Israel, when Saul kept trying to kill him, if you remember, he joined in with the Philistines, and he was going to fight with Achish. But the princes of the Philistines wouldn't let him, because they said he might turn and switch sides in the middle of the battle. So they remembered that it happened to them before. But again, you see here how the Most High used Jonathan mightily to get the victory over Israel's oppressors. And this victory motivated the other men to stand up and fight. Jonathan had the faith, he had the zeal. I'm still asking the question, why didn't he volunteer to go up against Goliath? Well, let's continue reading, and we may find out. So we're looking at 1 Samuel 14:24 through 28. And the men of Israel were distressed. So once again, we see that the men of Israel are distressed. Why? They just had a great victory over the enemy, but let's keep going. The men of Israel were distressed that day. We're talking about the same battle now. For Saul had placed the people under an oath, saying, "Cursed is the man who eats any food until evening." Listen to what he says. "Before I have taken vengeance on my enemies. So none of the people tasted food. Now all the people of the land came to a forest, and there was honey on the ground. So guess what? He says this, but Jonathan was not there. So let's see what happens. And when the people had come into the woods, there was the honey dripping, but no one put his hand to his mouth, for the people feared the oath. But Jonathan had not heard his father charge the people with the oath. Therefore he stretched out the end of the rod that was in his hand and dipped it in a honeycomb and put his hand to his mouth, and his countenance brightened. Then one of the people said, "Your father strictly charged the people with an oath, saying, 'Cursed is the man who eats food this day.'" Now my question is, why did he wait until the man put the honey in his mouth before telling him this? But at any rate, the men were in distress because of this rash oath that Saul had placed on them. They couldn't eat until he had gotten the victory over his enemies. So you see here that Jonathan now fell under this because he didn't know. He didn't know. So listen to what he says. We're looking at 1 Samuel 14:29 through 35. "My father has troubled the land. Look now, how my countenance has brightened because I tasted a little of this honey. How much better if the people had eaten freely today of the spoil of their enemies, which they found. For now would there not have been a much greater slaughter among the Philistines?" Now they had driven back the Philistines that day from Michmash to Aijalon. So the people were very faint. Listen to what happens. "And the people rushed on the spoil and took sheep, oxen, and calves, and slaughtered them on the ground, and the people ate them with the blood." The people were eating raw meat because they were so hungry. Verse 33. "Then they told Saul, saying, 'Look, the people are sinning against the Most High by eating with the blood.' So he said, 'You have dealt treacherously. Roll a large stone to me this day.' Then Saul said, 'Disperse yourselves among the people, and say to them, Bring me here every man's ox and every man's sheep. Slaughter them here and eat, and do not sin against the Most High by eating with the blood.' So every one of the people brought his ox with him that night and slaughtered it there. Then Saul built an altar to the Most High." Listen to what it says. This was the first altar that he built to the Most High. So we see here that bad leadership played a part in all of this. Saul was not a wise leader. The story continues. We're looking at verses 36 through 40. "Now Saul said, 'Let us go down after the Philistines by night and plunder them until the morning light, and let us not leave a man of them.' And they said, 'Do whatever seems good to you.' Then the priest said, 'Let us draw near to Yah here.' So Saul asked counsel of Yah." Now he asks for counsel. "Shall I go down after the Philistines? Will you deliver them into the hand of Israel?" But he did not answer him that day. So the Most High didn't respond. And Saul said, "Come over here, all you chiefs of the people, and know and see what this sin was today." So he knew that there had to be sin in the camp because he didn't get an answer. Verse 39, for as the Most High lives, who saves Israel, though it be in Jonathan my son, he shall surely die. But not a man among the people answered him. Then he said to all Israel, you be on one side, and my son Jonathan and I will be on the other side. And the people said to Saul, do what seems good to you. So now they're going to cast lots to find out who sinned. Continuing on with verses 41 through 46, and this is very, very important. Therefore Saul said to the Most High of Israel, give a perfect lot. So Saul and Jonathan were taken, but the people escaped. And Saul said, cast lots between my son Jonathan and me. So Jonathan was taken. Then Saul said to Jonathan, tell me what you have done. And Jonathan told him and said, I only tasted a little honey with the end of the rod that was in my hand. So now I must die? Saul answered, Yah do so and more also, for you shall surely die, Jonathan. But the people said to Saul, shall Jonathan die who has accomplished this great deliverance in Israel? Certainly not. As the Most High lives, not one hair of his head shall fall to the ground, for he has worked with Yah this day. So the people rescued Jonathan, and he did not die. So the people stood in the gap for Jonathan. But I need you to understand the power behind Saul's oath. Not only is he Jonathan's father, he is also king. He was operating under an anointing in two very important roles. Just think about how fathers pronounced blessings in Scripture, and years later, when what they said came true. So, a warning to parents: be very careful about the words you speak over your children, or the words you speak about your children, particularly in anger. You have the power to decree or declare a thing. Yes, Jonathan did a great thing that day, but pay attention to the fact that the Most High did not answer Saul because of sin. There was sin in the camp because of the oath he pronounced on the people. Now, after all of this happened, of course, Jonathan was rescued by the people, but Jonathan died on the same day that Saul died. He did not live out his days. So this is very, very important. You need to pay attention to the words that come out of your mouth. Verse 46, then Saul returned from pursuing the Philistines, and the Philistines went to their own place. So Saul continued harassing the Philistines and fighting against those who had been oppressing Israel. But you can see that a lot of this started with Jonathan's faith. He was a zealous man, full of confidence. He was aggressive for the Most High. He went out and attacked Israel's greatest oppressors. He wasn't afraid to do so, and yet Goliath was out there making threats, and there's no mention of Jonathan standing up for the fight. And this is just a question. Did something die inside of Jonathan that day? Because this wasn't the first time he had displayed great courage. Let's continue. You'll see how courageous he was here in 1 Samuel 13, 1 through 4. Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel. 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash and in the mountains of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeah of Benjamin. The rest of the people he sent away every man to his tent. And Jonathan attacked the garrison of the Philistines that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. Then Saul blew the trumpet throughout all the land, saying, Let the Hebrews hear. Now all Israel heard it said that Saul had attacked a garrison of the Philistines. It wasn't Saul, it was Jonathan. And that Israel had also become an abomination to the Philistines. And the people were called together to Saul at Gilgal. This attack is what led to the battle at Michmash, where the people had to hide in holes and caves because they didn't have the weapons to defend themselves. But what happened next is very important. Now let's look at this, 1 Samuel 13, 6-14. When the men of Israel saw that they were in danger, for the people were distressed, and we talked about why, then the people hid in caves and thickets and rocks and holes and in pits. And some of the Hebrews crossed over the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. As for Saul, he was still in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. Because remember, they didn't have weapons. Then he waited 7 days, according to the time set by Samuel. But Samuel did not come to Gilgal. And the people were scattered from him. So Saul said, Bring a burnt offering and peace offerings here to me. And he offered the burnt offerings. So he panicked. The people were scared. They're running away. He knew that they didn't have the confidence to fight. He was fearful that these Philistines are now gathered together against them. So he took it upon himself to offer up the burnt offering, knowing that it was not his role. Samuel was the high priest. Lesson for us. Pray for the strength to wait when there is a delay. The delay may be a test. Now it happened, as soon as he had finished presenting the burnt offering, that Samuel came. And Saul went out to meet him, that he might greet him. And Samuel said, What have you done? Saul said, When I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered together at Michmash, then I said, The Philistines will now come down on me at Gilgal, and I have not made supplication to the Most High. You all see that. Are you hearing this? Listen to what he says. Therefore I felt compelled and offered a burnt offering. And Samuel said to him, You have done foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of the Most High, which he commanded you. For now, listen, the Most High would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. But now, your kingdom shall not continue. That means that it couldn't pass on to Jonathan either. The Most High has sought for himself a man after his own heart, and the Most High has commanded him to be commander over his people, because you have not kept what the Most High commanded you. Do you see this? This is saying the Most High has already found someone else, and he has commanded him to be commander over his people. This is before David was ever anointed to be king. Let's keep going. We're going to see that that wasn't Saul's only mistake. Let's read 1 Samuel 15, 1-9. Samuel also said to Saul, The Most High sent me to anoint you king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore heed the voice of the words of the Most High. Thus says the Most High of hosts, He's telling, those words alone should tell him, you are not in control of my people. I am allowing you to be king, but they belong to me. So the Most High says, I will punish Amalek for what he did to Israel, how he ambushed him on the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and attack Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, infant and nursing child, ox and sheep, camel and donkey. So Saul gathered the people together and numbered them in Telaim, 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 men of Judah. And Saul came to a city of Amalek and lay in wait in the valley. Then Saul said to the Kenites, Go, depart, get down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For you showed kindness to all the children of Israel when they came up out of Egypt. So the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites, and Saul attacked the Amalekites from Havilah all the way to Shur, which is east of Egypt. He also took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword. But listen to this. But Saul and the people spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, the oxen, the fatlings, the lambs, and all that was good, and were unwilling to utterly destroy them. But everything despised and worthless, that they utterly destroyed. Continuing on, 1 Samuel 15, 10 through 15. Now the word of the Most High came to Samuel, saying, I greatly regret that I have set up Saul as king, for he has turned back from following me and has not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried out to the Most High all night. So when Samuel rose early in the morning to meet Saul, it was told Samuel, saying, Saul went to Carmel, and indeed he set up a monument for himself. He set up a monument for himself. And he has gone on around, passed by, and gone down to Gilgal. Then Samuel went to Saul, and Saul said to him, Blessed are you of the Most High. I have performed the commandment of the Most High. But Samuel said, What then is this bleating of the sheep in my ears, and the lowing of the oxen which I hear? And Saul said, They, now he's going to blame the people, they have brought them from the Amalekites, for the people spared the best of the sheep and the oxen. Listen to this. To sacrifice to the Most High your God. And the rest we have utterly destroyed. You all. You just have to shake your head on that one. So let's go on, verses 16 through 21. And Samuel said to Saul, Be quiet. Shut your mouth. Now he's talking to the king. He says, And I will tell you what the Most High said to me last night. And he said to him, Speak on. So Samuel said, When you were little in your own eyes, were you not head of the tribes of Israel? And did not the Most High anoint you king over Israel? Now the Most High sent you on a mission and said, Go and utterly destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, and fight against them until they are consumed. Why then did you not obey the voice of the Most High? Why did you swoop down on the spoil and do evil in the sight of the Most High? And Saul said to Samuel, Listen, oh my goodness, but I have obeyed the voice of the Most High, and gone on the mission which the Most High sent me, and brought back Agag, king of Amalek. I have utterly destroyed the Amalekites, but the people took of the plunder, sheep and oxen, the best of the things which should have been utterly destroyed. And again, listen to what he says, to sacrifice to the Most High your God. Your God, not mine, yours. To sacrifice to the Most High your God in Gilgal. So Samuel said, has the Most High as great delight in burnt offerings and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Most High? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice. That is a lesson we have to learn, Israel. To obey is better than sacrifice, and to heed than the fat of rams. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. Did you hear that? Rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft to the Most High, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Most High, he also has rejected you from being king. Then Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Most High and your words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Now therefore, please pardon my sin, and return with me, that I may worship the Most High. But Samuel said to Saul, I will not return with you, for you have rejected the word of the Most High, and the Most High has rejected you from being king over Israel. And as Samuel turned around to go away, Saul seized the edge of his robe, and it tore. So Samuel said to him, the Most High has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today. Today. And has given it to a neighbor of yours who is better than you. And also, listen, the strength of Israel will not lie nor relent, for he is not a man, talking about the Most High, that he should relent. Then he said, I have sinned. Saul is speaking. Yet honor me now, please. He's begging Samuel. Honor me before the elders of my people and before Israel, and return with me that I may worship, listen to what he says again, the Most High your God. So Samuel turned back after Saul, and Saul worshipped the Most High. Then Samuel said, bring Agag, king of the Amalekites, here to me. So Agag came to him cautiously. And Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past. But Samuel said, as your sword has made women childless, so shall your mother be childless among women. And Samuel hacked Agag in pieces before the Most High in Gilgal. Then Samuel went to Ramah, and Saul went up to his house at Gibeah of Saul. And Samuel went no more to see Saul until the day of his death. Nevertheless, Samuel mourned for Saul, and the Most High regretted that he had made Saul king over Israel. So in the very next chapter, Samuel is sent to anoint David as king, and something interesting happens to Saul. We're looking at 1 Samuel 16, 14 through 17. But the Spirit of the Most High departed from Saul, and a distressing spirit from the Most High troubled him. And Saul's servants said to him, surely a distressing spirit from Yah is troubling you. Let our master now command your servants who are before you to seek out a man who is a skillful player on the harp. And it shall be that he will play it with his hand when the distressing spirit from Yah is upon you, and you shall be well. So Saul said to his servants, provide me now a man who can play well, and bring him to me. So now you see why he's hiding in his tent as Goliath stands taunting the men of Israel for 40 days. The Spirit of the Most High had left him. Now he has to try and fight in his own strength. Are you getting this, Israel? We have no power to stand against our enemies if the Most High is not with us. It is He who gives us the power, the might to defeat our enemies. It does not matter if they are giants with weapons of mass destruction. As Jonathan said, nothing can prevent him from saving, whether by many or by few. They may all have weapons. They may have all the weapons in the world, but what is that to the one who owns it all? Let's keep going. So now as we move on, we're going to see a young David, just as zealous as Jonathan had been, coming on the scene. And he's going to hear this giant taunt Israel. This is 1 Samuel 17:12-16. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and who had 8 sons, and the man was old, advanced in years, in the days of Saul. The 3 oldest sons of Jesse had gone to follow Saul to the battle. The names of his 3 sons who went to the battle were Eliab the firstborn, next to him Abinadab, and a third Shammah. David was the youngest, and the 3 oldest followed Saul. But David occasionally went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the Philistine drew near and presented himself 40 days, morning and evening. Now, most sources say that David was between 15 and 17 years old when this happened. So imagine what he looked like compared to Goliath. I showed this image last time, but just think about how small David would have been compared to this giant standing at almost 10 feet tall. David probably would have come up to his knees. But as someone commented in the comment section on the last video, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, right? So we're going to wrap up this session with these words of David from Psalm 27. The Most High is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Most High is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? This is a lesson we have to remember, Israel. We have to pray to be delivered from the fear of our enemies. When the wicked came against me to eat up my flesh, my enemies and my foes, they stumbled and fell. Though an army may encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war may rise against me, in this I will be confident. Listen to what David says here. One thing I have desired of the Most High, that will I seek. What's the thing? What's the one thing? That I may dwell in the house of the Most High all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Most High, and to inquire in his temple. For in the time of trouble, he shall hide me in his pavilion. Do you see where he's putting his trust? Not in his strength. It's in the Most High's power. In the secret place of his tabernacle, he shall hide me. He shall set me high upon a rock. And now my head shall be lifted up above my enemies all around me. Therefore, I will offer sacrifices of joy in his tabernacle. I will sing, yes, I will sing praises to the Most High. This is the kind of faith we need, family. It only comes when you realize that you are not able to win without the power of Yah. He causes us to triumph. He causes us to be more than conquerors. We cannot rely on our might or the weapons made by hands. Remember, the fallen taught men how to make weapons for warfare. We have a power greater than that. And sometimes he'll tell us, don't even fight this one. Sit down or stand still and see my salvation. As they used to say back in the day, you can't lose with the stuff I use. So we are going to continue next time with the fight and see how David overcame the enemy. If this message has been a blessing to you, please hit the like and share it. And you're also welcome to subscribe if you have not already done so. Join me next time. Be blessed, family.